Can you share your perspective on how the console release has impacted the Arma community?
No, we're not shifting anything.
Are there any other surprises or features in store for Reforger that aren't mentioned on the roadmap?
Currently on the roadmap, I think we have only a few items left, and the next major update has like...
So what you're saying is you don't think people are going to immediately abandon Reforger for Arma 4?
Look at Arma 3 people still playing it while Reforger exists, and I sometimes wonder why, and I know they would say...
Can you describe off the top of your head what some of those dark times were and how you knew you were on the right track?
Did I have doubts? Many of us did have doubts, and to be frank, I don't think we are there yet.
It kind of sounds like there might be a little bit of competition between Reforger and Arma 4. Would you say that's accurate?
Shouldn't say it. I'm gonna get for this. Being a game with potential is cool, but this potential needs to be turned into action.
How is Reforger's development informed what we can expect from Arma 4 in terms of features, accessibility, and console support?
Also, there were a lot of discussions. I think one of the problems with current conflict is still that...
Hey everyone, Ironbeard here. I recently got to sit down with the legendary project lead for Arma Reforger, Klamacz, and grill him about the future of the game. We talked about some of the problems they faced with developing Reforger, some of the metas affecting the game that I talked about in one of my previous videos, and he even teased us with some upcoming features that'll change the way we play Conflict forever. So if you're interested in the development of the Arma series, love Reforger, and want to chill out with some great insights about its future, then sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Special thanks to my channel members for supporting the channel and the work I do, and special thanks to Mortarmaster 4000 for sponsoring the channel. The ultimate tool for mortar crews in Arma Reforger. Simply input your direction, shell type, distance, and elevations, and let Mortarmaster 4000 do all the complicated math for you. Download it on Google Play and dominate the battlefield with surgical strikes that not even the AI can compete with. Let's go.
Also direct hits on the trigger point.
Thank you, thank you. I'll be here all day. So you're the project lead for Arma Reforger, so that means you're the top guy, right? Or maybe explain a little bit about who you are and what it means.
Yeah, so project lead in our case is someone who is responsible for this one project and usually manages development time of all the people involved in that project. But it's not the same as being top guy, and it's not the same as being boss of everyone, and it's not the same as authoritarian single point of decision. I wish it would be like that, but it's not. So practically speaking, it means keeping a direction, making daily decisions about what do we want in the game, what we don't want in the game, who and how they should approach it, defining the vision, solving problems, to fit all of this in a schedule so we can actually release something, negotiate the schedule with all the other departments of the company which take care of like publishing and marketing and communication with platforms and IT services and backend services and engine team and so on and so on. So yeah, it's kind of wide, but I think for me the most pleasant part about it is being somewhat responsible for the game I love, and I treat it like my child, fifth one. And yeah, it gives me feeling of safety for the child, that I know I have a hands on it and I will keep it safe and stable, and I have some idea how it should progress. So yeah.
Was it more than what you expected? Or this isn't your first time being project lead?
No, I think, yeah, it is first time I'm project lead. Previously, I was a lead programmer, so I had a smaller team and more specialized. We had like just a part of the whole project to do, which is still kind of very important part because it's a game code. But it definitely didn't have that much responsibility, negotiations with all the people, discussions, impact, and like I think when I started, I was somewhat surprised by how much work there is in this. You could call it bureaucracy or just management of stuff, but there are so many different cases all around the place. It is a bit of work indeed.
Yeah, I can imagine. Can you share your perspective on how the console release has impacted the Arma community? And maybe what steps the team has taken to maintain the tactical vibe that Arma is known for, or maybe you're shifting that a little bit?
So, no, we're not shifting anything. So it's still the most realistic military simulator out there, and we intend to keep that place, and we do not intend to simplify or dumbify the game in any way. I think the influx of PlayStation players and also Xbox players to the community is actually a healthy thing. Every smaller unit gets fresh blood. People are excited to play. You have basically more people on the servers and in your teams, and you can do more with this. And I think this is actually something which Arma was maybe struggling sometimes. But you would have those very stable organizations, team which plays every week. But if you join open multiplayer browser in Arma 3, just on average day, the servers may be empty, and even the PvP scene was sometimes more empty than not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is advantage of Reforger that we kind of open this to 3 times more players. Therefore, we have on average more players, which can actually make everything more enjoyable for people. Everyone loves big populated server, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember in Arma 3, there was this PvP mode called Tactical Battlefield that was my go-to for PvP, but it was only populated on like Saturdays or Sundays during event days.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. And yes, it's still like a conflict will be the most played game mode for multiple reasons. But there are other game modes like AS here. No, that's WCS. They have all the stuff, lots of conflicts, and full servers, 128. And I keep scrolling, and I keep scrolling. This I don't remember such times in any Arma that we would have so many active players on multiplayer servers, on PvP servers, where you can join and enjoy basically any kind of type of existing mods and game mode. We have King of the Hill, we have Arma Life. I'm sure we have some Daisy mods and some survival mods. It is healthy, and the influx of people is healthy, has a healthy impact on the whole sandbox on the project.
Yeah, for myself, I know conflict is definitely my favorite game mode, and I think it's a testament to how good the conflict game mode is. I wonder if you're surprised, or maybe more like feel vindicated that the game has reached the popularity it has now at this point, because in the beginning people were kind of shunning it away, and now look at it.
Yeah. So over the years, as we were developing it, conflict didn't exist from the beginning. We wanted to create big multiplayer game mode which combines both PvP and PvE, but we also tried other things. And in the beginning, we focused mostly on creating systems that allows you to create any game mode. So we wanted to have such systems that will basically open this for us in the community. And if someone wants to create Wasteland or Life or capture and hold or whatever else, he should have the tools to do it. So we had a list of game modes from very simple deathmatch up to very complex, like CTI, and we were implementing each of those slowly. We didn't do the full list. We kind of ended up, releasing capture and hold, but we had some other interesting prototypes. Just they were less polished to be kind of delivered. But this all helped also in creation of conflict. Now, the conflict is such a big thing. The main, for me, the main reason for conflict to exist is that it gives you all the features and all the content of the game in one scenario. So that's something which also I think no previous Arma ever attempted. You would have all the different cool stuff, but they were spread in different scenarios. You could play a small co-op with that kind of AI or those kind of vehicles, but then you had another scenario to do something else, and there was like no one huge open world scenario which would give you everything at once.
It's not just giving you everything; it's all integrated nicely too.
Yes, and that's kind of was crucial. Like the developing conflict with that intention was crucial to make the features and assets and like vehicles and weapons to be actually integratable, like that they work together. We cannot just put them all in one game mode and call it a day, right? It's gonna break apart somewhere, and trust me, it did. So we were iterating over it to make it playable. That's why you see those new features popping up, like rank limitation or other things that we changed within the conflict just to make it more playable with the features and assets that we just added or we will be adding. It's a constant evolution, and it kind of guarantees that those assets and features work together. So then you may create completely different game mode in which you have, mortars and APCs only, but they still gonna be somewhat balanced. I don't want to say because the game is not balanced. The balance is not the word, but they work the same. They are coherent. But you also asked if it was going, did I have doubts? Many of us did have doubts during development. That's a normal thing because making a big game is a very ambitious project. It takes years. It takes hundreds of people. Some of the people may not fully understand the grand vision of the game. They just have their kind of piece of work they have to do. And then we would often do playtests. Like we would regularly playtest the game basically almost from the very beginning, which means like 4 times a week on average, a play session for like an hour or 2. And often after those playtests, we would gather the feedback from all the players, and often we would hear, this is boring, or this driving takes too much time. Why do we even have such big map? Which from perspective may even sound silly, but back then those people were right. When the game didn't have all the different features and all the vehicles, and basically the things didn't click together yet to construct the world which is interesting, then it may feel boring or makes no sense in the meantime. But those of us which kind of had this grand vision, this is what we want to achieve, we knew and we had faith in this, that we will eventually get there. It's just a question of time, adding those functionalities, adding the content to the point that this will play as we intend. And to be frank, I don't think we are there yet. Like the roadmap which we planned include some of the features which are still missing to achieve this vision. And then when you released, there were some times which were darker, but eventually the game picked up, the potential turned into sales, people started playing it, and then we actually found out that the people find good gameplay in this unfinished, incomplete vision already. because there are some aspects that we developed with like an open mind, with assumption that this may happen, and they actually pay back. My best example being like being thrown out of the vehicle when it leaves.
Yeah.
I believe it's one of the best ideas that we had, and it was a silly idea and kind of goes against many of game development principles, but we felt this is the another Lego block on the way to achieve the completion.
Yeah. Can you describe off the top of your head what some of those dark times were and how you knew you were on the right track?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest problem for us was always stability, performance, and like a network performance. So how many people can we have on the server at the same time? How efficient is the server code? How well it all runs, and does it kick anyone? Does it crash?
Mm-hmm.
So this was kind of struggle from the beginning. We had a very new replication layer. Our game code was also using this replication in very new way, different from what previous Arma were doing. So that was like a completely new architecture, and we were struggling. Plus, we still had those ambitions of Arma as it was before, but the tech was different, and those two ideas kind of collided for a long time. But I think we have very clever engineers here, so it's just a question of time that they work it out and they find ways to optimize, to squeeze those huge ambitions in 60 frames or 30 frames per second, whichever number you like. But yeah, I think the performance, even after initial early access release, we had like probably around 10 months where every minor update, every patch was basically us fixing all the stuff as much as we can to make the game run smoother and run more stable. Yeah, I think for many people this was kind of time when maybe they thought, oh well, this is a failed project, better cancel it or something.
Yeah, when it worked, it was like a really good experience.
Yeah, but it had to work, right? And this wasn't that common either, right?
Yeah.
Being a game with potential is cool, but this potential needs to be turned into action. And for that, it had to work quite well. I think there is also aspect which we maybe some of us didn't anticipate, that between every Arma and the next iteration, there is a delay as people switch to the next game, next generation, right? And often this is because of mods. People prefer some kind of gameplay they get used to. They like those mods they play with, and they have to wait for those mods to get converted. And even in times of Arma 1, 2, 3, this delay was usually like a half a year until mods moved enough and the game was also kind of fixed a bit that people started switching en masse, and the whole teams would move from one project to another. With Reforger, this delay had to be longer because we also changed the technology completely. So all the mods and all the modders, they were incompatible with the new modding tools and the tech. So not only people had to learn that from scratch, and then they had to redo their mods and their ideas into the new engine. Some of them maybe had a bit of advantage, like DayZ modders had a slightly easier time because they already been using EnforceScript and Workbench a bit, but then we also brought a lot more tools in the Workbench, like the world editor, that was all new. So I believe the delay grew to like a year and a half before community really picked up on the new technology, started creating stuff in it, and then this coalesced with the moment that the game became a bit more stable, a bit more performant. and that's where the success started. And then this potential of Reforger being actually good Arma game became apparent.
I bet you had to make some tough design trade-offs when building it out. Like,
Yeah,
I wonder
many.
how the community feedback shaped its evolution.
Well, we definitely read feedback. There is always some percentage of this feedback which is very useful, very clever, something new that we didn't think about, or some validation of idea which we are doubting in. Right? So it's definitely useful. Even bug reports gives us additional repro steps and allows us to maybe find things sooner. But I would say in 70% of cases, we make decisions already and we are keeping to them, and the feedback didn't really affect it that much. But it's also because we've been thinking about it for years. And when you think about something for so long, you kind of go through many different topics and angles and possibilities and wishes. So it would be nice if in future we could rework stamina to work this way. So we're gonna prepare it this way, and then we get a feedback from someone, please rework stamina to be this way, and we say, yeah, we know. So how do I count it? Do I count it as it's influenced by feedback, or the feedback is only validation for us? It's maybe 50-50.
Have you ever come across something that you've designed or thought about for years, and once it's implemented, you're like, oh, actually, that didn't turn out the way we liked, and definitely need to change something? I can think of, often I'll think of something as a good idea, and then when I implement it and it gets out into the wild, it gets used in completely different ways, and I'm thinking, nope, that's a really bad idea. Like, I had a respawn timer. So every time you died, it added like 5 seconds, or in some scenarios, they configured it to add 20 seconds for each death. And some people had like 2 to 3 minute respawn timers and stuff. And it was just like, yeah, staring at the respawn screen just really sucks.
Yeah. Well, so it does happen, yes, that we have idea, someone starts implementing it, maybe there is some design. We usually find out very quickly if it works or not, or does it improve the game in the direction that we want it to be improved, right? Does it bring what we want it to bring? There is always some why. Why are we doing this? And usually this why is easy to evaluate on next playtest. We have 20 to 40 people playing the game, and they say, well, this sucks, or this is cool. We have the validation. Maybe we find some problems, like you mentioned, with this respawn timer, that something is systematically unbalanced and will definitely create problems. That's the beauty of like game development process, like we call it agile, that you basically reiterate. You do something, but you don't do everything at once. You do it in steps. You do a small step, you look at it, you evaluate, does it do what you want? You do another step, and if you have to rework the steps, you did only a small one, and that's not that big of a cost to rework a single step, maybe two. And this way, with multiple iterations, you can get to the features which actually is ironed out and polished and went through like a test of time. Beside that, there is always a need to improve and optimize and refactor things from technological point of view. The way how they are implemented maybe needs to be a bit different. This happened a lot. We had a compartment system which was using components for every seat, and components are very heavy, so it will slow down the instantiation of vehicles and the update. So then we reworked the system at some point. I think it was shortly after early access. We reworked it, got rid of the component, changed it into something else, fixed few things on the way, broke some other things, but it was already a bit better for the performance. Like you may not even notice from as a player that something changed, but there is always some maintenance work. Those people go there deep into the machine's belly and they screw some screws and iron some pipes or whatever, and they make it work better.
Yeah, you mentioned the performance was definitely on the top of your list, and I think recently you guys started doing stress test servers in the EU for 128 players, and I was just curious, how is that going, and what insights have you learned, and are there any plans for 128 player servers in the US?
So we did it because we want to find out, right? So there is, it's the best way to find out how much we can push it is by having those stress tests and then observing. There are still, those servers are still reporting low FPS once in a while. We have a special system which allows us to see it. The information from the server, we have access to logs and some additional diagnostic information. So we are basically using this as a way to confirm that our current code base, as it's released, is working to that extent. There are still some performance issues with those 128 people, especially that we are ambitious and we're trying to run AI with it. Like many community servers turn off AI, and that actually helps a lot. But it still is useful for us because we have the data, we have the confirmation, and then people which actually pay attention to how performant are particular systems, they can observe that on those servers as well.
Any surprises in there?
No, not really. Animations are usually a big problem. Like the Reforger code doesn't have animation system and character control system multi-threaded. A lot of it is single-threaded. There are other code. There is a lot of other code in Reforger which is multi-threaded. It's it's way beyond what Arma before could ever do. But there are still some critical pieces of code which could be done faster. But architecturally, we are probably not able to optimize this one. We have to find some other smaller things to make the game run faster. Those big architectural changes, they are probably coming in the next iteration of the game, like probably Arma 4. So not many surprises in this data, but like with time and enough work, we should get to the point that 128 people would be some kind of standard for our official servers.
Okay.
Cannot say when, but that's the target.
That's the goal, yeah.
That's
Because
the goal.
I kind of feel like even Everon is really lonely just with 48 players or 64. Like there's so many things to do and jobs that need to be done, to have a proper battle. I feel like 128 is a good target.
Yeah, probably. It is definitely different. I like to play Conflict on Ireland when there is like 128 people, because then that's crazy. That's just like it plays like a death match, like you turn the corner and 5 guys. But also sometimes I like to play the slow one where you like on Everon you take 10 minutes and you maybe see one guy in a jeep and you try to hunt him, something which is not as intense and gives you more like time and space to think and strategize. But I generally agree. The more, the better. You can always find empty spot on such big map. But yeah, that would be probably more interesting if everything would be 128.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think the time limit a match should be generally on a map like Ireland? Or, either Ireland or Everon?
Oh yeah, that's an interesting question because we're probably gonna disagree here, my friend. I don't think it should have any time limit. I think the success of this game as a platform, as a sandbox, will be when those sessions don't end.
I would actually agree with that. Like it's
Right?
yeah, because well, like with the rank needing to rank up and stuff like that, if you lose your access or you lose your rank because the match restarted, then you got to start over from scratch. But when it's like persistent, you get less pressure to finish the match. But where I was going with that is like so to capture 2 objectives on Arland or 5 objectives on Everon, there's usually like a flow of the game that it takes a certain amount of time to capture those 5. Like on average, what do you think that should be? Or like you said, not at all?
Well, okay. So maybe I'll start with a little story from a few years ago. We had like a playtest of Conflict, and QA got so proficient in capturing the bases that they would basically steamroll the whole map in a matter of minutes. Basically, they knew exactly where to go, how to divide their forces to maximize the capturing in time. And we know people can be such experts. People can kind of learn how to play the game so well. And the ambition was that we need to make traveling through the map and capturing the bases so difficult and so time consuming that you simply cannot drive a jeep from one end to another without being contested just because you are clever. You have to take your time. You have to fight your way through. So that's when we started actually adding the FIA checkpoints and other elements to like force people actually fight over the bases and make it worth their time as well. Like it is achievement, capture a base. It shouldn't take 1 minute.
Yeah.
How long? I think even if it takes 2 hours to beat first base or first 2 bases, I'm fine with this because then people usually, I think, they wouldn't call it, oh, the game is boring because I spent an hour fighting over one base. They would say that was a hell of a battle to capture that base, and we had to do this and that and that, and it was like a whole hour, and this guy got tired, and I got killed 5 times, and whatever, right? And only when we did this, we managed, and then the situation changes.
Yes. Yeah.
I think that's where we should aim at. Also, there were a lot of discussions. I think one of the problems with current conflict is still that, like, Montignac has this base placed in this like agricultural area just outside of the city, and the whole city just stands there. There are some FIA patrols in, but often people don't bother because they can go around them. So we're just kind of running those AI inside the city, and nothing happens with them. It's a waste. What I would like to see is that either players have to actually fight over the city, or maybe the base is in different position, or maybe there are more tools for people to use the city so they can build their own structures in or do something with it. Like this beautiful metropolis in which like virtual village, right? But there are some opportunities to have fight, street to street, building to building, bringing them down or clearing them. This could be interesting.
Yeah, that would be really fun. That would be amazing. That's kind of when I was messing with some of my own mods, that was the idea behind the capture and hold zones and integrating it with conflict, that you had to capture the capture and hold zones before you can start capturing the town of Monty or some other large location. Like the power transfer station in Monty would be an important objective.
I think we somewhat also got inspired by what you were doing with this more linear conflict. Some of our smaller conflict maps, like this one, which I'm opening now, Montignac, they have like a simple structure, right? So it's not the whole map, and I think Montignac is actually the center of attention here. Let me see. Yeah, so Montignac has like 3 objectives around it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
very, very close, which is okay. Shall probably still want maybe one in the middle, but who am I? I'm not a designer. This worked pretty well because people would often move between them, so and the travel path between them kind of leads you through.
Yeah, and
cities.
building roadblocks and stuff in between there, and razor wire and funneling people through.
Yeah, so this is pretty interesting, but I didn't see many of them run on the public servers.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think there's a lot of cool ideas that can be explored. That I'm like I haven't seen anybody running the Southern Everon or the Western Everon. Yeah, very
Cool.
recently. I can't think of any.
Yeah, and also those other smaller conflicts. Maybe we should run them on official servers, so in some capacity.
Mhm.
That's an option.
So, how much time will judges for the Make Arma Not War contest be spending on the submissions, and how will like a PvP or a multiplayer submission be assessed? Because I'm thinking like if something is intended for like a full server, it might be
Yeah.
a different experience if it's just a few people looking at it.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I actually don't know how much exactly time we'll have to review those things and make our mind and what's actual process there. But we have people which been doing the previous Make Arma War. I wasn't involved back then, so it's a bit new to me. But I would expect that we will try to play and look at those mods, as deep and as thorough as possible. And if it's a big multiplayer game mode, then probably hosting official server with it or using existing hosted one to play it when it's full. It would be a good thing to do. We can join it incognito, nobody needs to know, and we still have ability to kind of run around, observe. If we run our own server, we can also use like admin to observe other people playing and make our mind. And even if it's like I don't know, in this case, let's say a scenario where you need like 60 people to actually make it fun, we will still probably host it a co-op just for us, just so we can play with the features and observe it from more like a developer point of view, like how was it done, what kind of systems are there, how the mod maker composed it into this game mode, and we can somewhat through experience of making mods and making Arma itself, we can probably extrapolate that to, and we will have some assumptions. Oh well, with 100 people, respawn may become a problem, or with it's gonna be a horrible mess. Whatever we would think, then we can test it by observation on some bigger server. I think there will be some mods that will require us to go into actual servers and observe it there.
Yeah, that's good. That's fair.
Yeah, we should definitely pay attention to what the mod is intended to, right? If it's a small co-op, can be tested like that. If it's a single player, if it's a game master, for example, then probably we would want to run a simple game master session with a bunch of devs, like have 20 people there, and have game master judge, which tries to use the mod for the session and then have some opinion about it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the submission that I have there, like I had a particular vision in mind of curating a particular type of experience, but I have no idea how that's actually going to play out because I've never been able to run it on a full server with it.
Yeah, that is a problem. We had this issue as well. At some points, like we had the playtest where we had like 20, 30 people, but then you're trying to set the rules for 60 plus people, and you need those numbers to not only to test the features but also to test the stability of the server and the setup, or maybe amount of AI, or maybe how quickly people rank up or can transport supplies, and how those numbers of players affect those measurements. And this is actually an issue for us as well. So once in a while, we would have like a call to arms in the company where basically everyone gets involved, or invited at least, and we would try to beat the numbers and have like the maximum possible people just to stress test it.
So going back to some of these servers, are there any plans to open up official servers for capture and hold, or any potentially new game modes or maps beyond what was already announced?
Yes. So we have already for a long time ambition to have capture and hold servers. This is for multiple reasons. We want players to have this, easy to jump in, quick gameplay, very active, very aggressive fight is just a minute away, where you don't have to like go through the whole logistics of a conflict match, so they can have fun. Like people like me, parents which have only 15 minutes, and they want to have a quick match. So this will be good to have. The problem is that we don't have a tech which is called mission rotation. So what we
Yeah,
want
that's
to have,
right.
yes, and we have like 7 or 8 types of capture and hold maps. So if you would host one server for each type for every region in the world where we have a bunch of servers, I think there is like 10 or 15 regions. That's a lot of servers, which would be just about that. And last time we tried, they were mostly empty. Like people didn't really play capture and hold that much. And so my ambition is we should have a mission rotation, basically a simple system, well, simple to with its functionality, but actually harder to implement. Which where you have in server config multiple scenarios, and as one ends, another one is being loaded. So then you can roll through the capture and hold maps either randomly. We also been thinking about some voting. There are multiple ideas here how exactly this selection of the next one would work, but then we can actually invest into running servers with them, because we would spend a lot less hardware, and it would be somewhat more flexible to what people want to play.
Yeah. I know for myself, I would definitely join some capture and hold just to have a quick match.
Yeah, I guess Tiny Wars is a good alternative, but it is capture and hold, technically speaking.
Another question: what's your vision for growing the modding scene across like the multiple platforms, and how can modders work with you guys to address issues like performance or crashes?
Well, of course, modders can really use the tools only on PC, right? So that's the first kind of limitation. And thousands of people playing this on PS5 or Xbox really won't change here much. Maybe just create a market, happy players when you deliver something to them, giving you feedback and sending you flowers. But they won't really jump in and start modding by themselves. Maybe there would be some more scenarios made in GM and shared through those saves sharing which we have, but you can find some, and I suppose them are actually created on consoles. So the modding scene probably will not be much bigger because of the multi-platform. I think also multi-platform brings extra challenges for the modders. That's something that we already found out in the beginning of Reforger. Some people had to figure out how to create inputs which work for Xbox and PlayStation now as well, which is something different than you usually do on PC. Maybe you have to pay a bit more attention to performance of the mod and their size. That's common complaint from console players that it runs slow and it takes hours to download. If modders comply with those requirements for the platforms, they make their mods either more optimized or maybe lower the expectations a bit and remove something which is too heavy. Maybe think more about the UX, how players will interact with my mod and my feature to simplify the control. So they also work on the controller. All those things are good for all of us, not only for people, because all of the mods for everyone will run faster, will take less space, and will have a better UX. So in the same way as we had to evolve our game for it to be able to be played on consoles, now similar responsibilities on the modders. They don't have to, they don't have to do this, technically speaking, but it would be nice. And if they do, that's good for all of us. So, like, I think the multi-platform Reforger actually makes Reforger better in general.
Yeah, especially for performance.
Well, it's like a hardware standard that you can comply with, and most of the PC players would be, at the same level or better, so everyone gets a nice, smooth game. And how modders can actually work with us? Well, we are in contact with many modders individually and as groups. Many of our devs are part of the modding groups as well, like RHS, but not only. And we pay attention to feedback tracker and we pay attention to Discord server. Those are like the main two places where we hear from modders and when we can talk back to them and discuss their issues, take their advices or feedback, or sometimes requirements like please add this API method so I can do this cool thing. And yeah, it doesn't. Sometimes it's a simple thing and we can deliver it in like next update. Sometimes it's a bit bigger and may take even a few months. Sometimes we cannot do it at all. But it's still useful for us, definitely useful for us, because this expands the like modability of the platform. So even if that particular person mod would never get finished, that function can be used for someone else, or the whole section of new features is now possible because we added something. So like keeping the game moddable is one of the crucial we want to have, or we want to keep having it.
Okay. So if you're a modder, go ahead to the feedback tracker and post your issue, and as well as join in on the Discord.
Yeah, I would probably suggest first go to Discord and try to drop it there, because sometimes something which you may be blocked on and like you don't see a way to do this, maybe it was achieved by someone else in different way. Maybe some random lost developer will answer you. There are some options here, chances that you would get information before you actually create feedback ticket. When we have feedback ticket, then we do process it. So if we can avoid feedback tickets which are duplicates or are complete nonsense, or it would be simple solution, just different way, then it also saves our time. We don't have to process it. We could be doing something else. So also, maybe let's not spam us with feedback tickets like all the
Discord first.
Yeah, I would say Discord is a good place. Okay. There are so many experienced people.
Okay, so here's a trap then. Let's make Evan sweat a little bit. So how is Reforger's development informed what we can expect from Arma 4 in terms of features, accessibility, and console support?
You will have to explain that question to me. What does it mean? How is the development informed?
So what lessons were learned in Reforger's development that has probably changed Arma 4's development?
I see. I see. Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes, so the value of Reforger for Bohemia is not only in making sales, bringing money, having players on the servers, or having articles written. The value is also in this information, in this knowledge, which can be retained and used in future projects. In many ways, Reforger was some kind of prototype, some kind of where we throw ourselves at the new technology with big ambitions and see what happens. And we found many ways how it shouldn't be done, and we also found few ways how it could be done. And some of those ways are now profitable, but all of those mistakes and successes are a knowledge base which next team, the one which is working on Arma 4, can now use. And they do every day. Or they do it from the very beginning every day. Those are often the same people which worked on Reforger, did similar things. So now they go there and like, oh, I have a blank slate. I can copy, I can convert, I can refactor, I can think about additional requirements, I can maybe create something better out of it than I had to do previous time, or maybe I'll retain exactly the same because it's perfect, that's rare. So yeah, all of it is a knowledge. All of it somewhat affects how next Arma is being developed, what kind of architectural decisions are being made, and hopefully it will result in Arma 4 being better game, more performant, more stable, having more players, having more content, having some of the typical annoyances of Reforger removed. In the same way as we tried to remove the annoyances of Arma 3 as we were developing Reforger, I think Arma 4 has the same chance now.
Anything major that you can share that comes to mind?
Performance. Yeah, performance, definitely. That's going to be a big one. I mentioned already like animation simulation being somewhat not multi-threaded, or not all of it is multi-threaded. Now I think Arma 4 has a lot higher threshold of that code being pushed through threads. There are some other systems which are developed specifically for the highest performance, instead of like in Reforger being developed mostly to achieve the functionality. Like we didn't have the functionality, we wanted to have a functionality, right? So first you make this happen before you make it happen very well.
Right.
And then depending on the amount of time, you may fix it, you may optimize it, you may refactor it. But when you have opportunity to start from zero and not make the same mistakes, then you can have basically better code base.
Speaking of Arma 4, once it starts taking the spotlight, what's going to happen to Reforger and what's going to happen to yourself, since they already have somebody working there as the project lead? Are you going to go back to programming?
Oh well, that would suck. I'm not that good programmer. Definitely not anymore. So first, assumption here is that Arma 4 will come out and it will be, a lot better or matching Reforger with its quality and how fun it is to play. And then probably it will take some amount of months for people to get used to it, to actually switch fully, for the, units and different communities to switch to Arma 4, for mods to switch as well. This will take probably 6 to 12 months from the moment the game gets released. So I think there is still a lot of time for me to do work on Reforger. I don't think about this section of my life ending abruptly anytime soon. I still have time. And when that happens, then I will see. Like maybe I will make some other decisions. Maybe I will do some other games. I actually don't know yet. Until that moment, I will be trying to keep Reforger, the best Arma which is currently released, and also I think through that quality of Reforger, I'm putting additional pressure on Arma 4 team, so they have to kind of keep up. Right?
So what you're saying is you don't think people are going to immediately abandon Reforger for Arma 4 because Reforger is going to be that good?
I think this already happened in all the Armas, right? Like, look at Arma 3 people still playing it while Reforger exists, and I sometimes wonder why. And I know they would say, oh, but we have editor and we have all the scenarios and all the mod packs and we can run co-ops exactly as we want. So there will be always some people which either for their own personal reasons, they like particular game slightly more than the other. They will take time to switch. This is not going to be instantaneous. We probably should think about how to help them switch. So for modders, I think there is ambition to have some kind of tool set and documentation to help them converting the mods between one Arma and another, which should be still a lot easier than between Arma 3 and Reforger. But for players, if imagine that animation will be slightly different or weapon handling will be slightly different, there will be a lot of people coming and like, oh, I prefer Reforger. I got used to it. I think it's the better. I'm not switching. And it will take some time and everyone else moving on before those people, this person will go like, oh, okay, fine.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier that you don't think you're a good programmer anymore, but you're the brain behind the firing from vehicles of Arma 3, which wasn't I can't imagine that was an easy task.
Yeah, that was a very long task, especially that I'm a slow programmer. But also it was difficult. Arma 3 had, after 20 years of different implementation, it looked more like a spaghetti bolognese than a proper code base.
Mm-hmm.
And in this code was kind of difficult to do anything fresh and new, change something drastically. All the pieces started falling apart. So, and I also wasn't the main brain. I had other people doing thinking before me, and there were some animators, Smokey, which was amazing and helped with making this happen. All the other people like QA, production, designers. But yeah, it was many months. Though it wasn't that difficult coding, it was like I'm not gonna go into details, but it was rather simple code, just a lot of it in a lot of places, difficult to
Manage, I guess.
To manage, keep track of, right? Yeah, but it wasn't algorithmically difficult.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we'd ever see something like that in Arma Reforger?
Well, when we were doing it, we were thinking like on the beginning of Reforger, most of the systems that we would implement, we would think how they can get expanded in future. So firing from vehicles and other similar features were kind of in our mind as possible stretch goals. We want the system to work this way, so eventually we can, or someone can, or modders can add this and that on top of it. I think this is kind of up to our resources and how much time we have before Arma 4 fully takes over. If there is a half a year when nothing else is happening and we magically have 5 animators which wants to train themselves on character poses in vehicles, that may happen.
Mm-hmm.
But the chances are rather slim. It's not in the plans at the moment.
I see. So the roadmap mentions, I guess does the roadmap mention Kolgayev? It doesn't.
No,
it doesn't.
Actually, it doesn't. Yeah.
Okay, so are there any other surprises or features in store for Reforger that aren't mentioned on the roadmap?
Well, the truth is that every major update that we had, there were features from the roadmap, and there was probably like 80% of other stuff which was never on the roadmap. So we are doing this all the time, that we roadmap is just the things that we were very confident that they are necessary to create this coherent vision of the game as we intended. So they have to be there eventually. But as we go on, we also find other things that we need to do. Sometimes it's a feedback from players, sometimes it's our own ideas. Sometimes we have random developers sitting over the weekend and playing with some technology and finding out completely new features which no one expected that may happen, but it's so cool that it gets integrated. That also happens. So we already have and been delivering those surprises and features out of the roadmap.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I think it will continue. So currently on the roadmap, I think we have only a few items left, like disassembly of the mortars, electricity, HQ commander, flares, AP mines, maybe something else. But this is what, like 6 things, and the next major update has like 40 features.
Wow. Which excites you the most?
Nice one. Nice try.
Yeah, you're sharp. You spotted that trap from a mile away.
It's hard to pick because all of those are exciting in some way. There are features that will change the conflict upside down again, just like 1.3 did with the game, that basically added so much distraction and the vehicles and the rank limitations, and that it became a different game. I think the next major update has a potential to do the same because of the few features, and they will really change how it feels inside the session, during the session. What kind of things you do and how does it all feels. We have some surprises which even devs were surprised when we added them. Some of them very controversial. I cannot say exactly what, but right now, when devs are listening to this, they know exactly what I'm talking about. We have a lot. Even the things that we said, "Oh, we're gonna do it," they will be bigger than what we said or what you may expect. So even in the things which we announced already, there are some hidden surprises or hidden depth that you guys don't know about.
Well, I certainly look forward to discovering those when they eventually get released. And in one of the recent videos, Natasha hinted at vehicles being moved by not wheels and snipers having a harder time. Is that code for boats in wind or tracked vehicles, perhaps?
I don't know what she meant.
Of course. I actually tried getting wind to affect projectiles, and by using the on fired events, tying a vector to it, and I actually got the tracer round to move with the wind, but it fired two rounds, and it the only round that the server saw was the one that went forward. So
yeah. There are definitely maybe some issues with it. I don't want to confirm nor deny anything. I think your speculations are interesting.
hot or cold, warm maybe.
I'm warm. I'm fine. And if Natasha said it, then it must be something important. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see.
Sometimes we know we are doing something, but we do not announce it until we are really, really sure that it's going to go out. So when we say, yes, this is coming in eventually, this probably means that we already have it implemented. And when we say this is probably going into next update. This is because we already have it in next update being tested, and we have a very high confidence this is actually going out and not being removed.
Right. And
We
it'd get removed if
basically-
it's like totally broken or you find something that's
there is always risk of reverting, turning things off, removing content from the game if we cannot make it work, especially in the last weeks or months before planned release. We have the stabilization process, and if something is, falling apart, and we find out, oh, this is, that particular launcher which we wanted to deliver, but it's broken now, and we, risking the whole release, the launcher goes away. And we didn't tell you about the launcher, so you don't have this like, oh my goodness,
expectation.
you promised and you didn't deliver. So it's also a reason and a very good, I think, foundation of like communication with the public, which comes from mostly Arma 3, and like they perfected it. Do not over promise, but always over deliver.
Well, let me ask you this then. Is it a waste of time for me to pursue the wind idea on projectiles?
Well, I think it would be difficult to achieve because the code which drives the ballistics is in C++ and it's barely exported. So you could probably in every frame add a physical force, but it's so wasteful operation, especially if you do it on all possible projectiles. That it would work like a technical demo, but it would be not very good as a mod which you could run with 100 people on the server.
Okay.
No.
I'll stop working on it then.
That's what I would suggest.
Okay. Would Reforger ever see features that have been developed for Arma 4? So, like, for example, if something they have cool going on in Arma 4 and it's easy to implement in Reforger, you'd be like, yeah, let's get Reforger some of that.
Yeah. So that's a controversial topic, and a topic which actually led already to multiple arguments between people from those projects. Because understandably, Arma 4 wants to keep their features for themselves to have the maximum value over the Reforger when it comes out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense, right? Business perspective. On the other hand, the technology that we are using, and Fusion Engine in particular, is the same. So when Fusion adds a new tech to the engine, both projects can use it almost immediately. There is, of course, usually additional cost of integrating that technology into the game through game code or scripts or data. So this is always some additional work. But even if we don't need certain technology, just because the next Arma will need it, they may appear in the tech, which means that we may have them available. That opens the door for us to actually use it and integrate it somehow. It's just a question how much we can do it and how much Arma 4 project would agree on it, on giving up of this business advantage, let's call it. There are some cases, and like this is more like internal discussions, suggestions, so don't take it as a promise or anything. It's more like ongoing development process, trying to figure out how to do it the most efficiently. Not waste time of developers, but get the maximum value out of what we did. And there are some arguments which say that technology which is done for Arma 4, if it's delivered in Reforger, can bring value for Arma 4 by providing feedback, by providing early tests, by giving this to modders so they can create content, therefore being already prepared for what is to come later, lowering this delay of switching mods between projects. There are opportunities to gain something. But it's generally case by case. Every case is slightly different. What's definitely not possible is for us to just take all the assets that Arma 4 is creating and put them in Reforger. That's not going to happen. But there could be a thing or two or three on the way which could be possible, and then we will consider it.
It kind of sounds like there might be a little bit of competition between Reforger and Arma 4. Would you say that's accurate?
I shouldn't say it. I'm gonna get to this.
Maybe don't answer.
But I think there was already some little competition between Arma 3 and Reforger. Not in a way of teams or developers being, oh, well, we're going to be better than you. Oh, well, we have higher player numbers. But generally, we want the next Arma to be better than the previous. Like, it kind of should make sense. There's a progress in this. There is a improvement, evolution. So we naturally compare ourselves to Arma 3. It still is better than Reforger in so many ways, right? And we look at those ways and we're like, okay, we have to give up on editor and we kind of have to give up on maybe something else like jets and tanks, but at least we have a better locomotion, or the audio is nicer and the performance is good and blah, blah, blah. So there is always a bit of comparing and poking each other and driving each other further, like pressing other devs to do even better through that. But it's in no way toxic or like antagonistic. The same people work on those projects. So like the flow of developers exists. So I have a, let's say, colleague which sits in the room beside me, and he moved to the next one, but he did already his part in Reforger. There is no competition here. It's the same person, right?
You're not peeking over at a screen.
Well, we also help each other. Like I'm participating if I can bring my thoughts or feedback or whatever else into their projects, I will, and vice versa. So those teams are not separated by a wall or anything. They still people work sometimes on both. All the different combinations are allowed, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're certainly helping raise the bar for the next Arma.
I hope so. Yeah.
So, if you can have one dream feature for Reforger specifically, without any budget or time constraints, what would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. One?
I hear you have a wall of like to be implemented features.
Yeah, it was called feature creep whiteboard, and then I had to clean up the whiteboard, so I just put it in our backtracking system.
So what goes back up on the whiteboard?
Well, I can actually maybe tell you one because it got invalidated, and I think we will not do it. But some time ago, on that whiteboard, there was a section called Wasteland. And the idea was that Wasteland game mode from, basically from Arma 1, or I think it started back then, is such important for the community, such influential that we should have it, even if it means we have to do it officially. So I was kind of toying with the idea how we could develop it over time, but in the meantime, the actual Wasteland appeared, so we don't have to do it anymore.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, my future creep list and my dreams are very wide. Some of them are about. Actually, there is a big section of those things which relate to interactivity of world and how do we use items to its like the most to the maximum, let's say. So if we have a object in the game, we have a model, maybe we have some animation, maybe we have some sound, but it wouldn't have an action or activity which is linked to it, then it's a waste because we constructed all this content and then we didn't get the maximum value out of it, right?
Like loitering positions.
Yeah, for example, right? So yeah, we could add, if we would have animations, we could have gestures, right? It's very easy to add. It adds the value. Why would we have animations if we players cannot use them? Or basically. So a lot of my feature creeping is around that method. Activate things which weren't active before. I hope it doesn't help you figure out what it is exactly.
Oh no, I'm totally lost, but I think I get what you're saying. Yeah.
We call them low-hanging fruits.
I can see that because that's all I'm able to really do is, if I can look at what's already available and see how I can change it to make something else happen. For example, the barbed wire has recently got updated with the collision for, getting cut when you go through it and it slows you down. And I was able to add that to bushes and stuff. So bushes also slow you down too.
Yeah. I think that actually is on my list. I'm sorry to say, but
It's
I think
really
it is,
easy.
I'm worried about performance impact slightly because there are more bushes in the world than barbed wire, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
And we already had a code which was playing the sound, which is kind of finding the collider of a certain type in your vicinity. And if you have a lot of objects, it is a bit slower. So you have to consider those.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
This is that scale.
How would one track the performance impact of something like that? Like, is that possible with the tools that we have available to us now?
In Workbench you should have access to the cheat menu, and inside cheat menu you have both frame rate counters and also like memory diagnostics, which will show you how different types of objects, how much memory they consume. And then you basically run it without your change and with your change with exactly the same map,
Conditions.
which is
yes,
conditions, and you design the map to kind of stress test it, so to maximize the impact, and then you see how much it differs, and you're trying to aim at something which doesn't have impact at all, but it's almost impossible. So then you're trying to minimize it. It's worth counting it also, like on the paper. If you have, let's say, you mentioned, bushes slowing you down. So you take all the bushes, you count how many bushes are on the Veron map, and then assume that you have some impact of that test. The test is implemented in some place. That place gets called that many times per second. You do it for every player. Player on average is affected by that many bushes, and then you kind of calculate that. So you can approach this basically almost on paper if you know exactly what should have impact where, and then you can test those assumptions using the stress test map.
That's a really good method, because I've always wondered, like, okay, is this thing causing that much performance loss or not? And I didn't think about doing that way.
Yeah, and there is one trick there as well. When you observe the performance, you need to look at the length of a single frame. So if you look at the FPS, frames per second, that you will see a drop from 60 to 58, let's say. But when you look at how many milliseconds one single frame took, that is actual proportion of the time. So looking at FPS sometimes may be counterintuitive and lead you wrong. Better check the length of a single frame and compare those. or like average length, and then those proportional increase of the time is actually meaningful. It's a proper way.
Okay, thank you for that. Next question is: given that you've been with the company for so long, what's your favorite Arma moment, either as a player or a developer, that keeps you passionate about the series?
Wow. Yeah, that's another tricky one. So I think I'm playing this for like since 2000, and from very beginning, I have memory of such moments which kind of defined, and they're still in my memory, and I would sometimes bring them up in some discussion. Like the first time I ran Operation Flashpoint, and I joined a random multiplayer server, and it was some kind of deathmatch map. If you remember Flashpoint and how it looked like,
I do, yeah.
Just like a grayish environment, very rough graphics.
It looked like the most realistic thing at the time.
Yeah, there was a bit of photorealism in it, right? It was definitely going against industry standard back then. And I was just running around, and I killed some guy, and I killed another guy, and I had been playing for like 20 minutes. The mission ends, and I see that I'm in the top of the high scores. I'm like, wow, I'm so good at it. I'm amazing. Only then to realize that all of those opponents were actual AI. There was no one else on the server.
Uh-huh.
And it blew my mind because no other game really gave you that option back then. Like this was out of the box. Like, how can you have a deathmatch with bots and they just act like I couldn't? I was playing it first time. Now, of course, I would recognize if it's player or AI, but that was influential. Playing Arma 1, there was something called international conflict, a huge organized war between two fractions, where you could join a fraction, get your rank assignment. You could be infantry or a pilot or a tanker or whatever, and you would take part in those battles. You would eventually rank up, get promoted, get more responsibilities. The battles were like every week, 3 hours, around I think 120 people on the server, which is like 60 versus 60. Back then, it was a very good number. Those were huge. That was a complete new quality of the game. This was real combined arms, organized, strategized conflict with generals and air controllers and everything. It was pretty amazing. I still have a bunch of videos on my channel. I was flying like K-15 there. That was a lot of fun. I think in every Arma I could find something like that, be it a tournament match or some particular type of game mode. Then I guess around Arma 3 I wasn't really playing that much anymore because I started working, and that shifts your perspective. Like it's harder to enjoy it, but I still liked King of the Hill. I would bring random developer and I would invite them for a session. I would kind of run them through King of the Hill match in Arma 3. We would end up just locking ourselves in one of the buildings and trying to defend inside the zone. But like for developers which maybe didn't play Arma that way, like maybe they didn't try PvP, that was something exciting. Being kind of shown and led through the crazy chaos of those King of the Hill matches. And then I think in Reforger the biggest of such experience will be the Kill Klamacz event. And yeah, that was one of the greatest from all, but I still think it will get topped someday. Basically being chased by the whole server and having just this one live event when every mistake can end you, and trying to survive. That was something. I got captured. We had accidents. There was all the kind of stuff happening. That was really great fun.
Do you think there'll be another Kill Klamacz event?
I hope they will try to hunt someone else this time. Like
You want to be the hunter?
maybe I think there are many other devs which could be that person. You know, they did some mistakes. Maybe they need to be punished as well. And also, I think the experience is such unique that I wish other people to have opportunity to have it. You know?
Yeah. So who would be top of the list? Who's next to be killed?
Well, OV is pretty good. OV is a marketing guy which makes most of the videos and video snippets, let's say, which you can find on YouTube. Not the big trailers, but like a bunch of other videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, marketing people. I would say from devs, Buracisco probably, our lead programmer. He did interesting video recently when he is calling it devsplaining when he's going through
Yeah.
devsplaining you.
Yeah.
So I guess eventually he will grow like a bunch of people which will be following him, but also maybe have complaints about how devs think, and they, you know, such event could like release some frustrations.
Earlier mentioned about how 1.3 update kind of really changed things up and made Reforger a new game. Can the same be said about commanding and freeform base building? And how would that change the way we play Conflict?
Yes, I think it will. Yes. You said commanding, so it's basically HQ commander and the free building of bases. Those are just two features which are in the roadmap. I think they are slightly explained there. There are some, you know, sub points, but actual dev items or features as we keep track of them, there is a lot more. So there are things related to how people communicate, how they coordinate their work, what kind of roles they can take, what commander can ask them to do, and how all of this clicks together and changes the flow of the conflict.
Okay. Okay. That sounds quite exciting, actually.
Yeah, and I didn't even touch on. I probably touched like 30% of what is in. Okay, because there are some changes that I cannot even say because that would give you too much hints, but are very, very impactful, or they will be very impactful to how the game is played. And hopefully we'll have a long experimental period because we cannot predict it's going to be, you know, maybe even controversial. Some people will have to get used to it. Many people will have complaints or opinions. So we expect to have a longer experimental period with that version to be able to handle and process that feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we going to start seeing the cryptic messages again?
Maybe. Yeah. Last time I think I did it a bit YOLO, and then it grew beyond what I expected. And
I was using ChatGPT to try to figure out what some of the acronyms were.
Yeah. The most interesting for me was to read Discord and see what people try, like what kind of things they wish those letters to mean, you know, and that's like a good research on what people want from the game. But some of them were kind of ridiculous as well. Yeah, I maybe for the next update, maybe we'll do something. Few people asked about this, so maybe.
So in Game Master, we have ammo cans that appear to have an inventory but can't have stuff placed inside them or be able to be picked up like the mortar cans do. Was there a system that was being put in place at some point where the ammo would have its own separate thing from supplies?
No. This idea was kind of brought up when we were designing the resources system or supply system, that eventually it could be used for other things which work similarly, be it a water, fuel, ammunition, construction materials, whatever. But we never put it in plan and kind of started, seriously implementing it. I think those ammo boxes were just misconfigured for a long time, that they didn't have inventory management at all. And then eventually someone tried to fix it, but maybe there is still some issue. Like, I didn't know that you cannot put objects in. And I guess it's right that if you have a small box with a handle, then you should be able to carry it in hand in this hand slot, which is the same as, fuel cans or mortar boxes. That's true. It's a good suggestion.
I don't know. I was saying, so when I when I fire off my grenade launcher, sometimes it loads a flare in between of my HE
Yeah.
rounds, or vice versa. How can I ensure that the right ammunition that I would expect gets loaded? Like, is it a way that I can sort it in my inventory, like from left to right or something?
Yeah, so I think the current order is order of like the first in, first out. So probably it's the way you put the grenades inside inventory, and they add it to the list in that order. So then when you reload them, they're gonna be taken in the same order. Most probably. I could be wrong here.
Okay, that's something for me to test then.
Yeah, but this is ongoing for some time already. We already have it fixed. The proper fix would be that it tries to reload whatever you had before. So if you already chose to put flares in it, then it should reload flares. And then if you choose to put HEDP, then it should take next one HEDP. So you just should continue with whatever you've been using before, as long as you still have it in your inventory. That's, I believe, how it should work. And the same should apply to all the different magazines and ammunition. So probably the same problem will be if you have a, AK-74, but you have some RPK mags and some AK mags, and maybe some of them with tracers, some of them whatever, and it will be just kind of random. While it should just try to continue with what you have. Actually, with magazines, it maybe is not fully random, but it's ordered by capacity. Probably takes the most field, so the biggest magazine with the most amount of ammunition.
There was something you had mentioned earlier about how after you started working for on Arma 3, you didn't really have much time to play the game anymore and enjoy things as much, I guess. I would say I kind of feel that too, because I spend so much of my time in the workbench now that it's hard for me to actually enjoy the game without seeing something that I want to tinker with. So I was curious how you might go about balancing the, enjoying the game versus working on it. Is that a struggle for you still, or have you figured out a solution?
Also, different roles in the project, different puts you in different kind of environment. So when I was programmer, I was so focused on delivering the code and maintaining the code that playing became more like diagnosing session. I would play and I would observe performance instead of just actually, enjoying the combat or something. When I was working on the AI, it even spoiled me, because now I cannot look at the AI without thinking how is this part broken or not, and maybe this should be tweaked and done better, whatever. So yeah, what you said, like when you realize the tools you have at hand and how powerful they are, then it almost feels bad to just play the game without considering how could you improve it. It almost feels like waste of time to some extent. For me, it slightly got better since I gave up on programming, and smarter people now are doing this, and I'm just I'm managing the thing, because that gave me space to play the game a bit more. So I can, let's say, I want to focus on the next deliverable, the next stable version that we would be releasing, then I'm playtesting that every day and paying attention to what goes in, what should go in. And that's like my focus. But I can still find fun in this, especially when there are some cool new features. And then when I want to interact with community, maybe there is experimental version or just check what's going on stable, I'm gonna join and play the stable game, some official conflict. But it is true that I'm not playing in the same way as I was playing 10 years ago or 15 years ago. It's a different kind of playing. You know, one thing which disappears definitely is surprise and finding out, learning about the game. I don't have it anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, this is gone. So I know where I am on the map. I know what are the vehicles and options. I tested all the items. There is not really that much drive that I'm gonna unlock the more powerful items because I want to try them. This disappears as well, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I usually challenge myself, like I'm just trying to bayonet people. That becomes like,
and wait till nighttime.
yeah, at least I know that I can sneak up on someone, right? That usually is this like a intense, clutchy combat moment when you try to walk slow and then he hears you and whatever, some kind of engagement happens. So yeah, it's different than before. I still sometimes like to check the mods, like the Wasteland. I played it a lot. That actually helps. I think I forgot about this. Bracisco mentioned it in the last stream that the fact that that game that Arma is platform with so many mods gives us something to discover, which we don't know because it's not our content. It's made by someone.
Yeah, so you haven't seen how the sausage is made.
Yeah. And I don't have this bias of, oh my goodness, why didn't we do this or that? I'm just then enjoying and exploring someone else's content.
Yeah.
So that actually helps.
I heard that there may have been some topics that you wanted to bring up if that's still on your mind.
Well, I guess there was this cool video you did some time ago about, was it a meta or like exploits?
Yeah.
The game.
The metas.
And I remember watching this. There was like 10 plus points there, and for every of those points, I had this answer immediately, like, "Oh yeah, we know. We probably are working on it, or this will be solved this way. Eventually, we'll do this, or this is actually not a problem because we're gonna change that." And I think like 80% of those exploits were something that we are aware of and we are basically preparing a fix. Maybe there were a few which we like, well, that's probably never going away for multiple reasons. Yeah, that was probably the thing. If you, I'm not sure if you remember any of those exploits.
I can pull up a list that I had written down. Because it was something that I had thought about a lot. I mean, after several years of playing the game, you kind of see what people are doing.
Yeah, it is a list which is kind of comprehensive and even useful for us because you notice things which are happening, you define them, you somehow analyze where they come from and what effect they have. And it's actually very useful for us as developers. And, verifying is fairly easy, and then we can already start thinking about how to solve it.
Okay.
Or you even have some suggestions. This is useful material.
Because I felt really bad publishing it, but because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or make anybody angry. But I'm fascinated by player behavior and designing systems that direct player behavior too, like just as a personal kind of thing, not necessarily like something that needs to happen. It's just a curiosity of mine.
Yeah, I see. It was kind of a process which we had when we were many years ago, especially in the area of infantry combat, like if very specifically talking about movement, weapon handling, and how those features can work together, and how players can use them in combat, offensively, defensively, whatever. And then as we play tested it, we would find out that there are certain actions that you could do which would basically give you advantage, sometimes fair, sometimes unfair, and we somehow have to solve it. So I think one of the typical ones was that there was a time where you could focus your camera, basically zoom in with the right mouse button, and then when you were using MGs, they were very, very accurate. So you could basically snipe with MGs full auto while running around. And it was somewhat related to implementation of those systems, that it could lead to that meta, but also it was us not having enough disadvantages for heavy machine guns and how quick you can move with them. So we patched it out. I remember it was actually brought by Jokin. He was the guy who was killing everyone with MG for a few days, and eventually we had to stop it from happening. Then there was one when we had underbarrel grenade launchers already in game, but they didn't have reload animations, so they were firing rapidly.
I remember a full auto grenade launchers.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this was actually released in Iraq, but there was a problem. I remember this problem still like in development. Maybe it wasn't released. Anyway,
I think it was on experimental.
Maybe. Could be a bug or some sort. But the interesting thing here is that we actually didn't fix it. We left it in until the animations appear, hoping that the actual reload animations will take enough time to balance this out. And we used that. The argument was that the fact that you can fire UGL rapidly, yes, it is exploit and kind of annoying if you are on the other side, but we also stress testing damage, explosion effects, and sounds and a bunch of other things that are related to this. So this was actually also beneficial for us to for like the development.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, over the years there were many smaller and bigger exploits that we found out ourselves or eventually someone noticed, and we tried to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, I just the other day I was tinkering around with like doing a check whether or not you're a squad leader in order to transmit over the platoon chat. I got it to work, but then I remembered about people joining the solo squads and everybody's a squad leader, so that wouldn't declutter the platoon channel.
Yeah. So with everyone joining and creating their own squads, that's actually one of those exploits that we would like to get rid of. And I think the like two angles on this. One is to maybe limit who can create squad. Maybe not every private should be able to create his own group. Maybe there needs to be some control over it. That's one aspect.
Maybe you need to rank up to sergeant before you can start a new squad.
Right.
But then what? How do you deal with just joining? Everybody's a private.
That's true. That's also true. The beginning of the match is actually one of the trickier parts because you have to kind of allow people to act, but do not give them all the amazing features which will get unlocked later. It is specifically difficult, yes. But also there is other side of the squad leader that if we can incentivize people to be subordinates, be part of other people's squad, and because of that, you get some advantages which are bigger than having your own marker on the map.
Oh, you're gonna. Well, I don't know if you'll like it or not, but I had added in the my submission or the squad itself earns XP and like it'll unlock weapons and vehicles and stuff as the squad itself ranks up.
That's a very nice idea. We actually didn't. I don't think we have it on the list, but I like it. I noticed this in your mod description. This kind of reminds me of World War III FPS game, which had similar system where leaders give the objective to the group, and if the group achieves it, both of them get extra XP. So basically, as long as you follow the orders, you get better XP, you have more whatever currency you're using to get your stuff, and your squad leader the same. But there are other ways to incentivize people to kind of be part of the group. And we will have some of them in the next update. We'll see how they work. We'll probably pay attention to the feedback. And maybe you will even make a video or something that bring additional knowledge for us.
Yeah. One of the guys in my community, he was talking about instead of loadouts that you would select on the respawn screen, but it would be more like you would select as like infantry or leadership or something like that. And you would basically have access to those things that particular role can do. Like infantry has access to all the weapons and ammo. Leadership has access to like building stuff and logistics and where they go. Armored crew or crewman has access to the armored vehicles and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious what you think of that idea.
I think it's a interesting idea, and some form of it you may see in future.
Okay.
Probably not exactly as you say, but the intention is similar. Have more direction when you select your group and loadout. Have options which make more sense, and kind of allow you to pick your role almost in role-playing way, which then maybe also incentivize people to, instead of being just a squad leader, they may prefer different role because that's exactly what they want to do. I cannot really go into details because it's still being developed, so I don't want to promise too much, but some sort of this is happening.
Okay. That's actually really exciting.
You have any other of those meta thingies?
Yeah, so the more metas, let's see, strafe spamming.
Okay. Let me just one by one. So strafe spamming, annoying. I completely agree. That's something that should be ironed out. Exactly how, this is yet to be decided. We have some little prototypes which basically just slows down the strafing, making the action less dynamic. So this character doesn't jump that much, left and right. You can still do the movement, but it's slower, which helps a bit. But the problem with it is that then it becomes slightly more annoying when you play normally. You don't even want to avoid the bullets, but you're just moving normally. And usually when you move, it's rare that the only button you press is W. Usually when you go straight, you actually are strafing left, right all the time, because you run in this kind of zigzag that you want to look left, so you're going to be strafing right, and then you want to look right, and you're going to be strafing left. Like, observe your fingers when you actually move through the environment.
I think that's probably going to be one of the first things that people notice when they join our servers is how going in a straight line is the fastest way, because we had slowed down this side-to-side movement.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out a way to do something with inertia, like in order to move full speed, sideways. But if you want to move, change your direction, then you have to kind of slow down to 0 before you can, start speeding up back the other way.
But yeah, that's basically what you explained. This movement in the straight line being the fastest. That kind of would force people to play differently, and for some could be a bit frustrating. So that's why we didn't just drop it onto the build yet. And then the second one was
Third person peeking.
oh my goodness, yeah, that's almost philosophical problem, right? Should the game be first person only, or is the third person allowed in Arma game? Because it always been there.
What ruins it is other people.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
That's the only like it's not a problem if you're not abusing it. Typically, people would say, "Well, you just use third person too." It's like, yeah, you can technically do that, but then it becomes a game of positioning because whoever's at the corner or the wall is like, I could go in the third person too, but I won't see you behind the wall, but you can see me and what direction and stuff I'm facing and whatnot. And like in a competitive game, that's where kills or deaths and stuff start feeling really cheap.
yeah, I agree. I kinda hate it. Again, in Arma 3, I remember playing King of the Hill servers. Some of them had first person enforced, and that was completely different game. And some of them would have them allowed, and I would still play first person only because I guess I like the challenge. And I felt dirty. If I would pick in the third person, I would feel dirty. Like this is not how real life works. You cannot see. But yeah, there were some solutions. I think Arma 3 was attempting to shift the camera to such extent that you cannot really use this third person. So like your third person camera would be like over your shoulder, more like Metal Gear Solid or something than, completely third person flying one. But it only solves the problem partially.
Yeah.
You can always find an angle in which you would still have advantage. I guess the final solution for this is to have servers which have first person only. Like you can already decide that in the server config. The only problem being that the vehicles don't have mirrors nor periscope, so usage of some vehicles becomes very difficult when you don't have a third person. There was an idea that we could have an implementation where the switch is like 3 states. So you would have no third person, full third person, and in the middle you would have third person only for vehicles. Which is okay, which is some kind of solution. I think Arma 3 had some kind of switch like this. But I think this is still just a middle ground. And at the end, we need to have periscopes, mirrors, and then enforcing of the first person will be proper, because when you have proper features for vehicle driving, that you actually look from inside and you use the visors or whatever to orient yourself, or you open the hatch and turn out, this is the actually realistic usage of vehicle. Having a camera flying around and being able to see the guy which is sneaking through the bushes is not realistic.
It's also a much different experience too, is if, when you're the occupant inside the vehicle and you can't like go into third person and look around. It's like when you're in the BTR and you can't see outside, but you hear all the explosions and bullets hitting, your BTR and whatnot. It's quite a different experience.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, you now have to deal with the fact that you don't know what the battlefield looks like, so you have to orient yourself to that too. So I find those quite engaging, but I know I'm speaking only for myself.
Yeah, this is interesting aspect. Like the fact that you are closed in vehicle is actually disadvantageous for your orientation in terrain and understanding, as you said, combat around it. So tankers would be forced to cooperate more with infantry, right? They would have a infantry unit nearby, which keeps the security around the tank. would be good if that would kind of naturally become a player behavior, because there is no other way to solve the problem. So eventually, yes, third person only optional, and everything, proper mechanical, forcing you to behave like a real vehicle crew in real life.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we'd ever see official first-person only servers once periscopes get implemented? I think you had mentioned that in the positive, yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. Like that, I don't see a problem with organizing it. Maybe the only limitation here is how many servers, and then how big percentage of people prefer to play first person only versus everything allowed. And the sad truth about players may be that those which really want the hardcore experience, they will be in minority. Maybe,
Yes.
10%.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of was visible during Arma 3 times, even in those King of the Hill servers, like the proportion of players. We'll see. Hopefully, we can also make it into. Maybe there will be some other clever solutions, which I don't even predict now, that will allow it to be more welcoming to all the players, so we don't have to be drastic.
Yeah. The next one was, I guess this isn't too big of an issue. It's just like, so the bush camping. So if you've ever played Metal Gear Solid and you have the hiding in the box running around, that's what it kind of reminds me of, the picture in my head.
Yeah, so you mean basically standing in the middle of the bush.
Yeah, yeah.
Not moving, and then the geometry covers you. So there are actually... So you mentioned one which I would like to have eventually, which is slowing down because you go through the bushes. So this in combination with the audio which you already get, if you cannot sprint through it, then also it becomes kind of barrier. You have to think more how to navigate yourself around. But someone could still theoretically, get in and be just very, very stationary and hide.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I think probably the very center of the bush where the the roots and stuff would be is probably shouldn't be able to get into. But yeah, I would expect to have infantry at in bushes hiding themselves. That makes sense to me. But
depends on the bush. I guess some of them may have like the center limited, but some of them you could kind of step over it. Bush by bush, right?
And then, like the stinging nettle, have that actually cause damage to you, and your character go, ah.
Maybe the bushes are scratchy, right? Like you could have a small damage. A long time ago, there was idea flying that if you run through the bushes, you trip and fall.
I think Bacon had a clumsy mod. Earlier that you would trip over stuff, and it was the most hilarious thing.
Yeah, I like this, and that's actually I would like to have it in game. But imagine the frustration, imagine the complaints.
Or if you're on a steep hill and it's muddy and you slip and fall down it.
Yeah, the muddy. We don't have muddy. We have rain and we have somehow wet, but we don't simulate mud. So that's something we should like. Eventually, most of the war relates to mud in some way. I think Moidog had a very cool video about it recently, talking about
how the environment and weather can affect how the war is operated. Yeah. That's a really good video.
Yeah, I like it. And he brings the example of this game about trenches, which I never
Foxhole?
remember. Yes, this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this is something. Mud, rain, wetness, those are cool aspects. But about bushes, just one more thing. There will be extra surprise features related to that.
Okay.
Which will slightly make it better.
The next one was RPG spam.
Okay. Yeah, so we are actually doing some very interesting changes related to that problem. The RPGs will be less accurate. There was actually a problem with something called muzzle dispersion, So how well the projectile follows the line of a muzzle, and RPGs are not as accurate in real life. They have tendency to drift. It
And
is basically
affected
just
by wind, right? Wind?
I don't know. We don't, maybe. Um, but definitely one of the fixes that we will deliver will relate to dispersion of the rockets, so they will be less accurate on the long distance. Then the rest of it is about availability of the item itself. So we have some tweaks that we're gonna do this, and it's not that simple as we will just limit amount of it. We actually gonna do a bit more. I cannot say exactly what, but probably if you will see changelog, it's gonna be like 7 points in changelog which relate to that, and it should. There was a actually non-zero chance that would appear tomorrow, but it's not happening tomorrow because of reasons, technological stuff, which too much details. But it is close enough. It's gonna be in the next major update.
Oh, okay, interesting. After that, supply shaming, which it's like it's not necessarily a problem that you created or the game created or whatever. It's just like the community sentiment, I guess I would call it in general, of being really defensive about how supplies are used because of how limited supplies are. And
I know what it means. You mean the people which like disassemble your arsenal because you build it in first half an hour,
or get mad at
how-
you when you spawn in a helicopter that you delivered the supplies for.
Yeah, I get that. It's tricky because it's about behavior of people and their belief system almost. We could try to direct it through some hints or maybe even disallow some actions, but I don't. So we don't have a clear solution for this. On the other hand, we will have a bunch of features related to supplies and building also slightly tweaked, which will affect this, but I don't know how. So we will see. It actually may, because we will kind of make supplies even harder to get slightly, which could actually make this a bigger problem. But the game would be so different. There will be a bunch of changes. So hard to say how it's gonna go. Like
you kind of
this is
have to see
something
how people react after implementing it.
Yes, that's why I wanted to be on experimental for a long time, so we can observe what people do with it, and if those behaviors disappear, get stronger, or maybe new ones appear.
One thing I've noticed about experimental is that it's a different crowd that typically joins and tests things on there.
Yeah.
Versus the general player base on stable.
Yeah, this is true. But there is not really much we can do about it besides releasing experimental, which is fascinating, and actually brings a lot of people just to try it. Last 1.3 experimental, when it got released in December, it wasn't in the best shape. So maybe this moment of initial fascination was also difficult to people to kind of keep on, because only the hardcore players, which were used to dealing, with experimental features, only those stayed. That's, I don't know. Like, I don't want too many people to switch to experimental. Like, it's good that people play stable. Not everyone has to. I would be glad if modders jump on it and make sure that their mods work, because that helps everyone. And I think we'll have it long enough. Probably we'll do a bunch of public playtests and ask people to join, trying to gather their condensed feedback session by session. This worked a few times for us.
Mm-hmm. Next one was another kind of player behavior of rushing objectives, trying to end the match as fast as possible. Like
making just a straight line from their starting location all the way to Monty or whatever.
Yeah, I think I also mentioned this was a common problem in the beginning of the project, and then we started adding, challenges and obstacles on the way to slow people down. I also feel that the more action, the more stuff you can do in a base which is already your own, the more incentive there will be for people to stay in that base for longer. I actually like that play style when I capture a base and I defend it for maybe half an hour, even if nothing happens. But I patrol it and listen to to shots if something is getting too close, and maybe I build it up and I talk with the people which come and visit, friendlies passing by and whatever. I wish there would be some feature which would make it even more meaningful. Maybe a bit more XP. Right now, you get XP only if it's a frontline base. We will have few features which will add to how many activities you can do in the game, what is being rewarded. But this is this is more like a meta behavior. People always seek action. People quickly get bored when they are left in a already captured base and there is no one counter-attacking, and they're like, well, let's go have fight again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why they fly their helicopters and drop them off within 50 meters of the objective and get blown up. And I would agree with that too, because I enjoy like building up the defenses and stuff and figuring out, okay, where am I going to put this machine gun nest and whatnot. And I remember there were several times on like Arlen, there would be this specific bridge that the enemy would have to cross in order to get to ours. So we would build up some funnels, like some traps that their vehicles had to drive through, and we'd set up a machine gun nest and just hang out, wait until they come through. And then we just discovered that they went around it and ended up flanking us instead. But
yeah. That's also a big problem. Like, it's hard to build a front line.
Yeah.
Where everyone can go around you, right?
Yeah. And I guess that has to do with how many assets you could actually place down, because I imagine you would set up an entire line of razor wire and mines and stuff across the entirety of the map in order to create that front line.
And I'm not sure if this would work, because people still would, destroy it when there is no enemies to contest it. So you would still need like a patrols and some kind of units which are sitting there and observing. Maybe enemies will come this way, and who wants to sit, for an hour somewhere defending line? Like, that's not really gameplay, which is interesting for people. And yes, there could be AI doing this instead, I guess, eventually. If we can run enough AI, then some of those aspects could get improved. If you have a defensive AI in your base where you maybe participate, but then this flanking is less possible, maybe your defending can be more efficient. Hard to say.
One of the things that I was thinking about is how to make building structures more interesting. Because right now you plop down a structure and you just hold F on it to build the whole thing. I'm wondering if something a little bit more involved might make it more interesting to hang around at a base. But that would, that's not, I don't see Reforger ever implementing something like free building of services, like where you choose where to place down the, the sandbags or whatever.
Yeah, that's not that simple. Like, if those props are separated objects in the list, then maybe. But then, there is also an issue of like a performance of that. Some of our compositions are maybe too big and too complex, and they should be slightly easier to place. So then maybe you could have more combinations and more depth in displacement.
Do you think there'd ever be
Uh,
variations of the same service, so like they could fit into tighter or like locations that don't have a whole lot of room? Like maybe a heavy vehicle depot is more
yeah,
long instead.
I think the heavy vehicle is like the biggest issue. That because it's very wide, it has a lot of space in the middle, which is like it just got designed this way. But in reality, when you actually try to build your base and then you have some bushes, rocks, whatever around, and you cannot fit this thing, you kind of start questioning why is it even so big? Why is it not a line? Some changes will be done. Exactly what changes will be done, I cannot say now, but I know the work is ongoing,
Are you at
which
least
relates
aware of it?
to. Yes, we are aware of this and few other problems with compositions. I'm not sure if you heard, but this bothers me, and I still hope eventually we'll be able to fix it. The fact that no compositions at the moment really help you defend from mortar strikes. Basically, there is no bunker or
Oh, I see what you're saying.
concrete
So
building which would really make that you can hide in there and mortar will not kill you. That doesn't exist at the moment.
right, yeah, yeah, that would be cool to have a place to hide at. Assuming somebody can figure out how to use the mortar accurately. I have a video that people can watch.
Shameless plug
Yeah.
right now.
Well,
Click in the corner. Yeah, everyone go watch this video. It's great. Mortars are hard. But also, I heard from people that those are the best mortars in any game ever.
yes. Yeah, and I've gotten comments from people whose job it is to run mortars in real life saying that this is very close to what they have to actually do and it's enjoyable and they love to do them.
That makes me feel happy.
Yeah. I wonder if mortars will ever be affected by wind.
Yeah, I wonder too.
The next meta was the graphic settings. Like people turning turning everything down on low so that the character models will pop out.
Yeah, this is annoying because it's even more annoying because we did it with intention to help people which have a low
A low system.
not as powerful, not as powerful systems, so they can still enjoy the game by getting rid of some shadows or some quality here and there. But yeah, I think this is method as old as games. The first Operation Flashpoint had very similar settings, which in options were limited. So the slider in options had some limits. But if you would go to the file and you would just change the value in like the config file, you could make those details even lower, and everything would look like crap. And there was some particular forest in Operation Flashpoint when if you would lower the details completely, all the bushes in that forest disappear, and you have only trunks of the trees. So you could see through with no problem, while the other players have obstructed vision. It's very, very influential. We called those people cheaters, even when we played PvP with them. But there was not really that much that we could do to like fight it.
Yeah,
I guess
it's like a cultural thing, like that's who you're playing with, I guess.
Well, there is always some person who will sweat over being, the most combat efficient, and he will use any advantage that he can find to win, which is, I guess, like a typical thing, right? Like soldiers are supposed to be doing this. Use any possible advantage to beat your opponent.
Exactly. You're not going to play fair in war, but turning off your graphics so you can see the enemies better isn't exactly, in my opinion, the place that needs to be exploited. Like drop a mortar strike, not turn your graphics down.
Right. Yes, that will make sense. I think there are some graphic settings. Was it a grass minimum? I think there was a distant shadows, which turn off.
Yeah, there was a
something like-
video a while ago that showed the performance impact was negligible for between turning it off and turning it on low or something.
Yeah, get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see people just like in Arma 1 when they had this very bright uniforms. You can see them in the forest half a kilometer away. So I guess the idea here would be to put those settings in the server configuration so then the server can enforce those settings in the session. And the only really challenge here will be profiles or the graphic profiles for console versions, because those are a bit more static. Console players don't have direct control over every graphic settings, so we would have to pay attention to those. But I think this is actually planned, just not necessarily for the next version, but eventually.
Yeah, and then the next one on the list isn't something you could probably do at all. Is the gamma to see better at night. Most of the people that I play with, we lament over not being able to fight during the nighttime because the lighting of the engine is so beautiful. But that just kind of means you have to either accept getting totally dominated or turn up your gamma as well. And then there's a lot of, like consoles, they can't necessarily do the same. So they're at a disadvantage to the people that can.
Yeah, that's true. So we actually, long time ago, we had a implementation which was adding noise to the night. So even when you max out your gamma, basically you would just see more noise instead of having a very clear vision. It helps a bit. Doesn't fully solve it because like eventually you can crank up those settings both on your hardware and in drivers and whatever that you probably can achieve easier spotting of enemies. Just the game will look like crap, and I don't know why would you play like that, but I guess again
They're sweaty.
sweaty people which just really have to be the best. So this noise may come back. So any other meta you want to ask?
Oh yeah, I guess the arsenal hoarding. Basically, they're building 5 arsenals at a location to use as storage space to grind their ranks. Which I guess that's you build storage for storage. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like you just see.
No, that's true. And I think the storage is what's missing.
I remember there used to be a composition that was for storage, and it got removed at some point.
Maybe there was. I actually don't remember that. But basically, yeah, our solution for this is storage, dedicated composition for storage. That would be the solution.
Yeah, I remember that was like in when Reforger first came out, there was that storage location.
Yeah, there was something. Yeah. And I think the annoying part about it was that you always had to build it, otherwise you wouldn't have enough space to build radio or something. Like you had to have storage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had to build the storage first, and then you can build the radio. And back then, trucks had 1,000 supplies.
Different times. No.
Yeah. And then the last one was the people grinding ranks by doing like unvaluable things, like transferring supplies from one base to the other over and over again. Like the same supplies, though.
True. So we are aware of a bunch of exploits related to supply manipulation or transportation. Some of them, I think, were already fixed in the previous. Some of them will be fixed in the future ones. So you shouldn't be able just to drive the same supplies between very like nearby bases there and back. That shouldn't work. The same, I think that it was possible to drive supplies from those randomly spawned FIA caches, which are hidden in garages and whatnot. So you could actually drive them back and forth from base to those cache and still gain XP at least one way. Even in some cases, you could build two positions in the same base, and they were far enough from each other that it would count. So you wouldn't have to even do multiple bases. Those are the ones I know, which are being either already are fixed or will be fixed soonish. I think the main issue with those behaviors is that people want the rank. And
Yes.
people,
Yeah.
they just want to have a rank, and they want to be able to drive LAV or fly Huey or whatever else. Somewhere deep, I believe that no action in the game is really abusive or nonsensical. If people do this, then let them do this. Similar problems we had like about should healing other players give you XP, but then it leads to the exploiting that
People shooting
will
themselves.
shoot.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then heal because that's at some point it's gonna be more efficient than going kilometer and trying to capture the base. But then I would say, well, fine, let them shoot each other and heal each other. At least the guy which is healing, maybe he will have muscle, be a good doctor, the corpse man, and he will be then very efficient for other people. So maybe it's not that horrible waste of time. There was a typical one about transporting people. What if
They drove around in circles or something.
exactly, like just drive your friends there and back, and you will gain XP. Well, fine, and even if, then what? Well, they wasted time. They got XP. I'm not so sure about limiting those just in the name of removing exploits. I mean, we have to understand people want to rank up. They need to have XP. They have to be able to rank up high enough by doing things they like. So they don't have to do things they don't like just to rank up. So in fact, paradoxically, the solution to this may be giving more XP for more actions. Therefore, they don't have to exploit it because
the thing that they want to do is the fun thing to do that's ranking them up.
Yeah, if they would have different thing, which is not this, exploit is supply, but I don't know, even defending the base, sitting there and I don't know.
Because I'm trying to think, like, what is the mindset that, but it's a more productive use of my time to drive back and forth between the same location to rank up versus just playing the game.
I guess the safety, like if I'm doing this between those two locations, then I'm not going anywhere else. Therefore, a risk of getting killed, losing the vehicle, losing the time is a lot smaller, right?
Yeah.
And I still wouldn't do it. Probably I did it once in my life when I actually grinded the ranks by driving between two bases. But I was still delivering the proper way. I was just coming back empty. And then it was still grindy enough for like not do it ever again. Somehow people make that choice. So if we just give them more choices, maybe they don't have to pick that one.
Right. It maybe the choice can be something that benefits everybody on the team.
Yes, I think with some of the changes we are doing to like in the next major update, some of the changes to conflict related also to HQ Commander, they will rebalance what activities are important for the team, what are less. Supplies will be still important, but there will be other activities which kind of will grow up and be more common. And supplies will also have some alternatives, so maybe you wouldn't be forced. This anyway. I'm already spoiling too much.
Keep talking. I guess maybe you can settle the debate, or not even a debate, but one of the members of my community actually got yelled at by somebody because the main base was full of supplies at like 10,000 supplies. So he took a supply truck, loaded it up at main base, and delivered those supplies closer to the front line, and got berated by somebody for quote unquote wasting supplies. Now, I suppose I did a bad job at framing the question, but who who is in the right or wrong here?
Well, I would say the guy who delivers them to the front line is in the right, because supplies then can be used for forward spawning, for building, for spawning vehicles for anyone who is fighting on the front line, right? If you stash your supplies only in the big bases, like the main base, that's kind of wasteful. The limit, I think the base limit has, like, if you said 10,000, probably it was, often it's capped around that level. You may have like 20,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And what then? Like, the generation cannot put those supplies anywhere.
Right, it
You
stops.
then wasting potential supplies.
Exactly.
Distribute them everywhere. You will have more of them. That actually makes complete sense. I guess you should have like a squad leaders which then shout at such people back. Like, get in line. But yeah, I completely agree that in that particular case, I would rather deliver supplies to the front line and use them where they're needed more. Where there is a clutchy combat, when every spawn matters, instead of main base where it's only for few people which can buy the most expensive helicopters. We cannot fix the players completely. We in the end we create a world with some set of rules and some simulations which should make you as a player do things that we believe you should be doing, but you always have a choice of doing something else. So if you don't want to deliver supplies, if you don't want to play with your team, if you don't want to capture objectives, you are kind of free to do so. And if everyone decides not to fight, then there will be peace on the server. And I also don't see anything wrong.
There's been more than a few times that the enemy team and the U.S. team have come together, having rave parties with Andre.
Yeah, I'm sure that happened.
With smoke and flashlights everywhere at night.
Yeah, good music and a bit of fun, and why not? Like, at some point we should have features in this game which are like completely non-combat related, like pacifistic almost, right? Like playing cards, or I don't know, like you have a civilian radio, right? So listening to radio or dancing or whatever. So then you can actually stay in the main base and have a party there instead of going to the front line.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Have some mini games too, playing cards while you're on a defensive position, waiting for an enemy vehicle to come by. I don't know if you had anything more to add, or if you wanted to talk about anything else.
Actually, I think I'm glad that we went through this list of yours. Reminded me of a few things that we still probably have to pay attention to. But generally, it's not as bad as everything is forgotten and, Reforger is stale. No, we are aware. And as much as we can, as much as time allows and resources are available, we will work out those kinks, and we will deliver some improvements. Probably it will take longer than expected. That's a typical thing with game development, that whatever people think it should take, it's usually 100 times longer or more.
And I would say, just from my perspective, I'm glad somebody like you, who absolutely loves the game as much as I do, probably even more, is in charge of it.
I'm also glad.
Yeah, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart of sharing your time with me.
Yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you for all those questions, and I'm looking forward for future calls of that kind. Maybe with when you find new meta problems that we should solve, we can run through this. Thank you very much. Take good care.
You too.